Howdy, folks. It's the Stick Figure Historian, and we're officially starting the American series. Okay, well, kinda. Our first story of America actually doesn't begin in that country. It begins before America was called America, in the days when no one roamed our plains, forests, and mountains, save the Indian tribes and the wild animals that they hunted. Our tale begins in Europe. For the story of America is in many ways just another part of Europe's story. And, well, we're actually going back to England in particular for a moment. It was about 1603, in the great city of London, that it happened. A baby boy was born who was destined to play an important part in the beginnings of the new world lying off across the western seas. Roger Williams was his name. As little Roger grew up, it was clear he was not meant to be a weaver, as James, his father, was. The threads of wool and linen did not slide so easily between his fingers like they did through his older brother Sidrach's. He wasn't a dull boy by any means. He was just different. From a little child, Roger saw the world another way than the people around him, especially the church. Sunday after Sunday, he attended the Anglican services with his family. But somehow, he didn't feel quite right about what he saw. When he read his Bible and watched what these churches were doing, the two things didn't match. "Father," he said one day, "I don't think the Anglicans are doing things right. I can be a Christian, but I don't know if I can be an Anglican." Then James was very upset with his son. In his mind, dissenters were just crazy people who always wound up believing very strange things and getting into lots of trouble. He tried to argue with Roger and bring him to accept Anglican ways, but it didn't work. Roger didn't want to make his father upset. He wanted to follow the Bible, and he determined to do so no matter what. When Roger grew a little older, he became an apprentice to a man named Sir Edward Coke. Seriously, the things that I have to put up with. Not the soda, people, it's just a name. Okay. This Sir Edward was a jurist, meaning he worked as a lawyer and a judge. And not in just any common court either. This man has served as the Chief Justice in the court of King James, as the highest judge in all the country. Sir Edward had met the young Roger one day, and was immediately struck with the boy's brilliance. There was a spark of great promise in this interesting little fellow, he thought. So he had taken Roger away from the weaver's trade, and made him a secretary in his office. Roger soon found that the pen fit much more easily to his hand than the fibers of tapestry. It was a busy job, this work of a secretary, but he was enjoying it immensely. Sir Edward was not actually acting as a judge at present, but rather as a member of the House of Commons, and there was much that Roger could learn from this influential statesman. After a few years, Sir Edward decided that Roger's mind was too great to waste upon mere secretary work. From his own pocket, he sent the lad off to Charterhouse, a school for young boys his age. Roger was delighted. He threw himself into his studies with great vigor, and excelled in most everything he set his hand to. He was particularly good at learning languages. In just a few short years, he had mastered Latin, Hebrew, Greek, French, and even Dutch. It's not surprising, then, that afterwards he went on to Pembroke College in the city of Cambridge, where he began to study to be a priest in the Anglican Church. Of course, Roger still did not quite agree with the Anglicans. He had come to call himself a Puritan, meaning he thought that the Anglican Church was not all bad, it just needed to be purified. He planned to preach God's truth, even if it was in an Anglican church. For another 2 years, Roger pored over books, gave speeches, and scribbled out essays, until at last he was awarded the degree of a Bachelor of Arts, and officially created a priest. But because Roger believed so differently, he wasn't appointed to any of the high, better-paying priesthood positions. Instead, he became a chaplain, which a chaplain is a private priest, to Sir William Masham, a member of Parliament. 22 Roger was now, a young man with his whole life and 1,000 choices ahead of him. For now, he settled down contentedly to the work God had given him, striving to be faithful in all that he did. Yeah, I know we didn't get to America yet. We'll get there, I promise. There's important groundwork to be covered here. Thanks for watching, everyone, and stay tuned for episode 2.